Order this complete. Okay, ladies, thank you all for joining. It's always good to see you all. And we're going to go ahead and get ready to get started. We have Miss Sharon Brayla with us, and she's going to be presenting to us strategies for kitchen and bath design. And Sharon is the owner and principal designer of Studio One Design, and we know her from being a part of our community. And she is an accomplished, very accomplished designer with over 17 years of experience. She started out in kitchen design, so she has a strong background. Found it with her doing her work just solely in that area of design, and she brings that to her firm from new builds, remodels. Sharon, she's a beast when it comes to kitchen and baths. If you've ever seen her work, and if you haven't, you need to go to her website and check it out because she is someone that I highly respect in the industry for her creativity. And I know she has a wealth of knowledge to give us now, having been in the business for over 17 years. And with that, she's a mom. She has two children, a son and a daughter, and she's one of my really good friends. And I've met her way back when I first joined this call back in 2023. And oddly enough, I think I had reached out to me and talked to maybe three people. I'm trying to think, Vanny, if you were one of them. I was asking about a virtual assistant or something way back then. And I reached out and I spoke to you. I spoke to Sharon, and I feel like there may have been one other person. And ever since then, even though she said she was like, this lady is crazy. I don't know what she's talking about. She said she confessed later on. But with that, we have become, like I said, really good friends. And she's someone that I reach out to when I've had questions in my business journey, and I'm still on that journey. But she has a wealth of knowledge that all of us can glean from. So I'm super excited for her to share with us. And we are family, Sharon. So there is nothing for you to be afraid of. And with that, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Destiny. I appreciate all of that. Hi, Keisha. Okay, so Destiny pretty much, gave you guys the rundown about me and my background. I'll just add to that um my son's 18, so I've actually been in design for over 20 years. And I don't consider myself, an expert by any stretch of that world. This is a journey that I'm on, just like you guys. I know we're all at different career levels. And so, today is just about me sharing, you know, what I've learned over the years, right? Not as an expert, not as someone that is at, some high career level, but just as a peer and someone who has had my fair share of ups and downs in this industry, my fair share of challenges, and they've all grown me. Um, my background does include some work with home builders, both in sales and new construction. So, I feel like I can speak to the value of the entire project from start to beginning, the client experience, the contractor world. None of it is unfamiliar for me. But again, peer to peer, we're all learning from one another. Okay, hi Star. Hi Denise. Okay, so I'm going to share just a quick little video. This is Destiny. Can I share my screen?
Are you able to share? Hold on, let me see. Sharing screen. Hold on, let me see. It should be share one by one, share all windows, share. Are you getting a message when you try to share?
Yes. Okay, now I'm not. I just have to choose what I'm sharing. So give
Okay,
me 1 second.
cool. And make sure you say sound included
Okay.
if it has sound.
My gosh, I always do this. No
It's
matter how many times I do a Zoom meeting, I cannot figure out how to share the right screen. So,
okay.
okay, give me one
While
second.
look, while she's getting that together,
Oh,
Star,
great.
I want to hear what was your highlight from market?
Oh, hey girl, hey. Oh my gosh, there were so many. For one, it was my first time being back at market in like since 2000, what, 24. I didn't go 25
Oh,
at all because
wow.
April I had a car accident, and then fall my grandmother had passed away. So, um, yeah, going back, seeing everybody, it was like emotional in the sense that just hearing the accolades from like people noticing like the work and seeing how I've kind of grown throughout the years, I guess. Catching up with old friends. Zoom calls and direct messages go so far, so seeing people in person is
Yeah.
always nice. um Golly, I think just the community, seeing the community and seeing how everyone is just doing their own thing and just thriving, and just the beauty of that is nice. And I also brought one of my friends back here because we have a new design group here locally. And this was her first time at market. So actually experiencing it like through the first, for the first time through her eyes was kind of nice, like refreshing. So I don't know. It was all of it. Let's see. I did love, 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 just because it's near and dear to my heart, the Science of Design presentation. That was amazing. Just to hear how we're now validated, we can be certified to provide, basically health and wellness to our clients. It's kind of like the unsaid thing that we're doing, but now it's scientifically backed. So if y'all haven't looked into it yet, I know Vanny is currently trying to get her certification. Trying to get mine. So it's something to have in your back pocket. It does cost. It does cost, and you have a year to do it. And I will say it's like being in college again. But I think it's worth it. The content is so, so good. So good. So I don't know if everybody had a chance to see that, but if you haven't, check out the Science of Design website. It's pretty cool.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks
This is
so
the
much,
first time
Stephanie,
I'm
for
hearing
sharing that.
about that.
Yeah, I was thinking
Absolutely.
in one of the breakout rooms, we definitely could chat about it even more afterwards. Um, so yeah, okay. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm
Sure.
ready.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, come on. Why is this?
Like I think I should note to self, start doing a mic check.
Yeah, especially with me. Okay, now it's asking me for a password. What in the world?
And I'm trying to think, did you send it to me? Let me see.
Okay, did that work?
Okay, it did. I see something.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolute Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolute masterclass on transforming your interior design business into a highly profitable kitchen and bath powerhouse. Based on the rigorous strategic playbook of principal designer Sharon Braylock, we're going to break down the exact business pillars of high-margin kitchen and bath design. If you've been looking for the blueprint on how to structure your professional fees and effectively frame your sales scopes to command top dollar, well, you're absolutely in the right place. Let's get into it.
All right, let's kick things off with a massive number, $230 billion. Yep, you heard that right. That is the staggering scale of the kitchen and bath market projected for the near future. Kitchens and baths are the number one and number two most remodeled spaces in America. For disciplined designers, this isn't just another market. It represents an unprecedented opportunity to capture the highest margin specialty in residential design. But it requires a seriously strategic approach.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover the $230 billion market, why you need to put function first, managing your execution strategy, framing your scope as value, and finally, we'll break down the high-margin math.
Starting right off with part 1, the $230 billion market, and specifically, the aging-in-place boomer opportunity. So over 2/3 of all projects, that's 67%, are actually driven by Gen X and boomers. We are talking about a demographic holding an eye-watering $110 trillion in collective wealth. And here's the kicker. Older homeowners are moving a lot less. That makes aging-in-place renovations the new primary driver of kitchen and bath spending. They have the equity and they are ready to invest it in their current homes.
Now, you might hear the acronym AIP, or Aging in Place, and picture institutional grab bars. But the playbook makes it clear. AIP design isn't about hospital-like aesthetics. It's a highly strategic financial decision. Think about it. When a typical assisted living facility costs $5,000 to $10,000 a month, a $75,000 custom, accessible bathroom remodel is actually a massive cost saver. Your goal is to position yourself as the protector of that investment.
Moving right along to Section 2, Function First, Aesthetics Second. The playbook makes a really great point here. Beauty is really just the reward for getting the layout right. You establish immediate authority with clients by leading with precise layout metrics. We're talking about specifying frameless cabinets to yield 20% more storage, enforcing 42 to 48-inch minimum aisle widths, or using pocket doors to save up to 14 square feet of floor space. These are the high-level ROI-driven conversations that big box stores literally cannot have.
Putting function first also means you're proactively managing risk. By actively preventing common pre-construction errors, like moving plumbing without checking joist direction or starting demolition without locked-in materials, you prevent catastrophic budget overruns. And get this, scope creep happens 67% of the time. Locking these details down early cements your role as the rigorous protector of the project's success.
Okay, on to Section 3, Managing the Execution Strategy, focusing on the general contractor relationship and your visibility. Think about it. Your reputation relies entirely on job site execution. You can design the most gorgeous, functional space in the world, but if the execution fails, it's your brand that takes the hit. Because of this, asking the exact right questions to vet your general contractor before the project even starts is totally non-negotiable. So, the playbook outlines 6 exact steps to pre-qualify a GC professionally. For example, when asking about waterproofing, you want to listen for specific technical answers. Mentioning premium Schluter or Wheatie systems is great, but a vague response like, "Oh, we just use cement board," is a huge red flag. This level of pre-qualifying isn't confrontational at all. It's just a vital professional act. But execution isn't just about the build. A truly strategic execution plan means getting in front of wealthy clients early. The strategy here is to build a pipeline by partnering with financial and legal advisors. A loan officer handling a home equity line of credit, or a HELOC, knows a client is renovating long before you do. Elder care attorneys and 55-plus real estate agents have the move or renovate conversation daily. If you position yourself as the expert, they will send high-budget clients directly to you.
Let's pivot to Section 4, Framing Scope as Value, and the critical language shift you need to make.
This right here is the fundamental mindset shift for high-margin design. Clients don't actually push back on your fees, they push back on value they cannot yet visualize. You aren't just picking out nice tiles, you are managing discovery, existing conditions, layout planning, contractor communications, and incredibly complex procurement. The scope doesn't justify the fee, the scope is the fee. They are the exact same thing.
To actually get paid what you're worth, you have got to shift your language. Stop saying things like, "My fee is X," or "I charge hourly." That just commoditizes you. Instead, speak like an authoritative investment protector. Say, "This project requires X dollars to protect your investment," or "Here is the exact scope we will manage together." And if they push back on the budget, say, "Let's build a scope that works within your budget. Reduce the scope, but never discount the fee."
And that brings us to Section 5, the high-margin math. Let's look at why kitchen and bath is the highest earning specialty out there.
Let's actually break down the numbers for a standard 175 square foot kitchen. If you look at the upscale or aging-in-place remodel tier, on a $125,000 luxury budget, charging a professional design fee of 15 to 20% nets $18,000 to $25,000. Then you add in procurement margins on fixtures and materials, which can easily be another 15 to 20 grand. Coupling a strong percentage fee with procurement turns a single upscale engagement into up to $45,000 in total earnings. That is wild.
And it gets better. When you leverage the compound opportunity of doing just one kitchen and one bath for the exact same client on a combined $110,000 construction budget, your total earnings can rapidly hit this incredible figure, $36,800. That is from one client. You don't need 10 different clients to make a great living. You just need one properly scoped, fully managed, high-budget client.
I love how Sharon Braylock summarizes this in her presentation. She points out that the technical specifications, you can learn those. You can take the courses, pass the tests, and earn the aging-in-place credentials. But demanding to be paid what you are actually worth, that pricing confidence, is a choice you must actively make. You've got to claim the room. So as we wrap up and as you audit your last project to prepare your next proposal, I want to leave you with this provocative question to challenge how you structure your business. Is your fee truly reflecting the actual, rigorous complexity you manage? If it isn't, it is time to change the scope, change the language, and change your math. Thank you so much for joining this explainer. See you next time.
Okay. So I led with that because, for obvious reasons, AI is here. There is no working against it. We have to use it in our businesses and use it as a tool to help, simplify life and, do some of the heavy lifting for us, right? And so every talking point that, AI created this video from was one that I put into a spreadsheet, and there you have it. Let's share the actual spreadsheet and go back for a second. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So, like the presenter said, this industry is moving in a direction where there is not a lack of, oh my goodness, I'm having such a hard time navigating this thing. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Yep, we can see the rooms we're not leading.
Yeah, it's not taking me to the first one. Oh my gosh.
The first page was there at first, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
This is where I'm trying to go. My gosh, get it together. So $230 billion is this industry. And obviously, with Black designers making up just 5% in the industry, we are not leading in this space. We're not leading in this room. Kitchens and baths making up the number one and the number two, the second remodeled space in the country. I just found that to be completely compelling, completely compelling that we are not absorbing more of the K&B projects in this industry. And then we had the breakdown that, it went through showing the difference in margin between a minor remodel and upscale remodel. $36,000 potentially, from one project. What's changing? Not really sure that we covered a whole lot of that in the script, but the footprint of the kitchen is changing. That's projected to actually decline, but the kitchen and bath space is expected to increase. Wellness, tech, we're seeing a whole lot of that in kitchens and baths. And aging in place is just, it's here. And there isn't a way around it. It's here. And a lot of us, we have been designing for, aging in place, but I think specifically concentrating on it is really an opportunity for us to grow our revenue. And then obviously the layout being a non-negotiable on a K&B project. How you start and how you kick off a K&B project is important. Clients don't come to you to design a K&B space that have things figured out. So knowing the questions to ask, knowing who the primary cook is, knowing whether it's a one body or a two body kitchen, whether or not there's, children in the home, where the male goes to die, mobility considerations. These are all things that, are part of the qualifying process for a kitchen project. Decisions that cost the clients money, knowing your framed versus frameless cabinets, knowing your knowing your recommendations for NKBA, whether or not you need a 42-inch clearance or a 48-inch clearance, navigating your work triangles, bath clearances. These are all areas that, as designers in the kitchen and bath space, we have to be significantly well versed in. And then a few mistakes that cost everyone everything. I'm pretty sure that a lot of us have, seen some of these between moving plumbing, unresolved selections, choosing the wrong contractor, lighting as an afterthought. These are all areas that I've seen create massive issues on my projects. And so, just ahead of time, having a plan, having a contingency plan specifically, dotting your I's, crossing your T's, choosing a contractor for the right reasons, those are some areas that can prevent some of these mistakes. Okay, so the market that we're missing, going back to the agent in place and the caps. So basically, I sought a cap certification because a project came to me where the clients wanted to move their parents into the home, and I was not prepared to what I felt like would, delivering a quality sound design, right, that would meet the needs of all of the challenges that their parents were facing as a result of them needing to live on site with their children. And so that kind of forced me to, you know, do some research and look at the CAP certification. And what I found is that that opened up a world that I was completely unfamiliar with when it comes to networking, right? It opened up care professionals, it opened up just a whole networking world that was never a part of my thought process. And with the kitchen and bath space moving in the direction that it's moving in, I almost feel like, it's a shot in your foot to not give agent in place a chance in your business. And let's see, so as far as institutionalized, the look that, a lot of designers feel like agent in place is um, just not quite a look that they can sell. We're already designing with agent in place standards in mind. We're already designing with pullouts, counter height, vanities, curbless showers, wider doorways a lot of times. And so these standards or, these minimums are a part of what we're already doing. So why not incorporate them into the business model to increase the earning potential? And so the ecosystem, as far as the designer networking path compared to the AIP or the CAP specialist path. So when clients find us as designers, it's more aspirational, right? It's, I want to redesign this living room, or I want to, redesign this space. Not, I need to, do something to make this space work for me. Not, I need to be able to live in this house and make it safe. And so that opens up a totally different demographic for us to, network with, between occupational therapists, elder law attorneys, geriatric care managers, lending professionals. Those are all people who, in the AIP industry, those people are waiting for people like us who are well versed in this area to be able to provide that service to their clients. And then scope as a sales tool. So basically, changing the language that we use, changing how we approach some of the, feedback that we get from the client. Instead of saying, this is what I charge. Sorry. Instead of saying, this is what I charge, this project requires X amount to protect your investment. Instead of saying, I charge hourly, here's what we'll, charge for managing the project together. That's my standard rate. Let's see how much we can cover. The language that we use, I find, is a significant indicator, or I should say, a significant differentiator when it comes to the clients buying into that particular investment. So 3 commitments starting Monday. Auditing a kitchen and bath project to see if your fees actually, reflect the complexity of work that you're doing. The kitchen and bath space is not an easy space to navigate. Most of the time we're doing, triple the amount of work that we'd be doing in a single room project, a living room project, right? And so auditing your project to see if there's room for you to make some changes, if your rate is actually, reflective of the work that you're doing. Identifying a lending institution, a financial advisor, a GC to introduce yourself to and to create a networking relationship with. And then researching the CAPS and the KMB pathway. I think that we can all benefit from the extra learning when it comes to CAPS, the extra learning when it comes to, a pathway that supports kitchen and bath designers. For myself, I wish that this was a path that I had solidified a lot sooner, because I really do think that, you gain entry into a lot of rooms with some of the credentials that come about as a result of, creating that pathway. And that is the end.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, Sharon. If you didn't see the chat from the time you started, there was lots of love in the chat. And
Listen, I did not see the chat because I could barely see what I needed to see. I did not see the chat.
Well, you need to look at the chat. And so now we're going to move forward to Q&A, because I'm pretty sure that there are some questions. I know I have a couple. And so I will open the floor to anyone who wants to ask any specific questions to Sharon pertaining to what she said, or even just questions you have about the kitchen and bath space and that service that maybe she didn't even actually go on. So, and someone in the chat asked if you would share your slide deck?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
if you just send it to me, I mean, if you send it to me, I'll post it also. I'll post it on Facebook.
Can you guys see my screen? Am I sharing my
Not
screen still?
anymore.
Not now. Mm-mm.
Okay,
Not now. Okay.
okay.
Well,
So
oh,
share my slide deck. Yes, ma'am, I can do
yeah,
that.
just send me a copy and then I'll post it.
Okay.
Okay. And okay, Vandy, I see your hand. And Mimi has her hand. So after Vandy.
Hi, Shawan. I want to make sure I say this properly.
Sharon,
That
yes.
was really
And
good.
the presenter did call me Sharon.
That was really good, good information,
I
especially for
appreciate that.
us. And that does some kitchen and bath. I haven't done one in a while because there was a time where I was doing kitchen and bath a lot, and I was like, I'm over it. I just want some furnishing projects because it was getting to be a lot, and I felt
It's
like
a lot.
I was a little bit uninspired, and it was a lot. Well, the project management aspect of it and working with contractor was the of my existence, which is what my question is going to be about. I got tired of it working with contractors and their shenanigans all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you handle managing that side, the project management side of the kitchen and bath project, and keeping it going on a straight line? Maybe it never really goes on a straight line, but
It
how do
never
you
goes on a straight
how do
line.
you manage the process of the time management and contractor management of the kitchen and bath design? I think that's why I got out of it, just because I just was really tired of so much of it that I wasn't in control of somewhat, or maybe I wasn't doing a good job controlling it. So I would love a little bit of insight as to that part of kitchen and bath
Well,
projects.
that's the first thing that you have to recognize in the K&B spaces that, or really in any of the design
Mhm.
specialties, you cannot, you don't have control over a lot of things, right? You're not, even with the GC on the project, you are the designer. You aren't steering much of anything. You're managing, right? But you aren't necessarily so on my projects, I don't control the schedule at all. That's my GC. I don't touch the schedule. It's posted, but I want nothing to do with the schedule because that would mean that I would have to communicate with your trades and they don't work for me, they work for you. So I want you communicating with your trades. Now, when I'm on site, I want the, trades to know that I'm the designer and obviously I want them to communicate directly with me on site, but I don't get into the scheduling and it never, rarely does it go according to plan. Rarely,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
So, quick question before you go forward. Do you design first and then bring the trade in and says, this is what I'm going to do and that and that? Or do you let them assess and analyze the space to let you know, hey, this may not be doable, that may not be doable?
Absolutely. So we bring a GC in the process as soon as possible. So, we have our initial meeting, and once we get that signed, contract back, and once we figure out conceptually what we want to do, we bring a GC in right away. The earlier, the better. If I can get them in there, for the first meeting, um, great. But we onboard a GC immediately.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. So when you said you bring a GC, so the contractor manage, so you don't manage any part of the schedule. You just tell them this is what we want to do, and then they assign whoever they need to assign and create the schedule themselves, like the chart or whatever it is. And do you communicate it to the client or do they communicate it to the client?
So I'm looped in, yes, with the client. So I always have a chain with the GC and the client, so that we're all on the same page. Because it would be hard to manage a schedule for trades that aren't under your company umbrella, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um, and 9 times out of 10, I work with the same one or two contractors, right? Um, so yeah, the contractor more or less is the lead with the schedule, and where that falls is, where it falls. Now, obviously, we play a large role in making sure things move smoothly by having selections on time, by, working with, the product side of things. But beyond that, when it comes to labor and installation, no.
Gotcha. And I have one last question. So, how do you suggest, or what are some resources that you have? I know NKBA does provide a lot of information. For someone who would want to do kitchen and bath, what do you suggest as far as like increasing your knowledge of like meal work and even the process for the construction, like the work sites, what you need to have available to the contractors and all of that stuff. What do you suggest as a good resource to, get more
Sure.
knowledge on those things?
Yeah, NKBA is a really good
Yeah.
resource. They have a lot of content on their site. You can take some courses through them. Colleges that have, a lot of times, colleges that have a design program will have some coursework. But I would say, working with your showrooms, working with your kitchen and bath showrooms, um, connecting with your cabinet suppliers, whatever cabinet suppliers you're using, they're great wealth of knowledge when it comes to the K&B space. Um, Anyone that sells, plumbing fixtures, just using the network within the industry. If education is what you're looking for, like institutional education, then a program that has a short pathway for K&B design is what I would recommend. But NKBA is a good place to start. That's a really good place to start. Become a member with them. I think a lot of their tools on their site are accessible if you're a member.
Yeah, I've been
Um,
a member with them for a while.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great place to start.
Okay.
And I'll
Thank
plug in
you.
there too, Vandy. I just finished taking two courses through Lewin University. The
Mhm.
two courses were project workflow and construction-based design, and then the other one was project leadership and construction-based design. And that helped
They
me
were good.
a lot. Yeah.
I
So
wanted
they
to
taught,
do this actual too, actually, so that's good to know.
yeah. So, and here's the tip, as I think I put it in the chat, like they have their new semester season is coming up in a couple months, I think. And typically they'll have, before they launch it, a session, and they give discounts. So
You
I
you
was
just got
able,
cut. You just
oh,
got
sorry.
cut off. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. So before they actually open up for everyone to start registering, well, at least I know this last time, they had this one particular session where they were introducing the different courses that were going to be offered. Some of the instructors were there doing that Zoom call, and they offered buy one, get one free. I showed up not knowing they were going to do that. So I had already had my mind set I was going to take one course, but because they had buy one, get one free, then I was able to sign up for both of them. And they both were, those two courses work very well together. It is so much information. I am still at the point, like, we had homework, but you could do it at your own pace. It wasn't like you had to turn it in. But I still
Okay.
now, like, I have this binder behind me that has all, the notes and everything, and that is what I'm working on now, trying to get to building out my spec book, really looking at what will be my process when I have that big kitchen project come my way, so that I know what I'm doing and what I will present to that contractor that will um, sell my services even to him and to them, that when they see that you are on top of it, you have a process, you know what you're doing, your documentation, your spec book is tight. As my instructor said, like, one instructor is like, I don't do social media. She was like, I post like once a year, but she does these wonderful projects, constantly has business coming her way. And why? Because of the caliber of and the level of professionalism and detail that they bring to the table when they are part of that team. It's like, so whether you're the first one on the project or you're brought into the project, one of the things they stress to us is that you are there to help keep timelines moving and to prevent, like Sharon said, all of those situations that could prevent the construction from progressing in the way that they want to see. Because as a builder or a contractor, you just want to build. You're not there trying to hold hands with the client and pick selections. They don't want to do that. So, and what I learned is really having that information is, if you can, the goal is to have they said the complete spec book before they even like start the project. Like, you've already sourced, you have all the drawings, you have everything ready. Now sometimes that can't happen, they explain, but that's the goal, that you have everything they need, because that's half the battle if you're able to present that. So I just say that there was a lot of value in those courses. Like I said, I'm going through because I'm working on, like, I did my own custom home drawing, and I'm using that to work through all the elevations to really show and put a really nice book together that I will use, literally have copies in my car, that when I meet people, like, I'm able to say, like, this is what I can do for you. And that'll be that selling point when they see how organized you are and detailed you are, that they will bring business. Like Sharon said, getting in front of those partners, the people who know about these type of projects, and that they bring you on. Like she said, I think one of my professors was saying how, even the banks, they're lenders who recommend her to clients. Like, they know, oh, because again, they've seen their work, and they're really spoken highly of by architects, the general contractors, versus the reputation that I guess sometimes general contractors can have that isn't favorable for us. Like, oh, you're about to if they bring in a designer, that designer is just going to make things more complicated, or, they don't see you as an asset. And that's the key that they were saying. Like, if you really want to get those projects and those jobs, we have to be seen truly as an asset to the team. So yeah, so all of that, like the timelines, the walkthroughs, what goes first, what goes second, what goes third, like literally they cover all of that in those classes. So that was super beneficial for me. I feel so much more equipped now speaking with a contractor, and I still don't remember everything from the class, but I know I now have a resource. Whether I know it off the top of my mind, I can turn around here and go through and be like, okay, this is what they taught me, and refer back to it. So just
This
want
is
to put that out.
Luann's class, Destiny.
Yep, Luann.
Okay.
And it opens up. She has a spring and a fall, which I think it starts, like, those classes begin probably sometime around the end of September or beginning of October, because I think it's like right before market. Um, the next session. But those were really good. It's Jennifer Slingerland and Kathleen, I forgot her last name. Anderson, Kathleen Anderson. And Kathleen, like she said, I'm not even on social media. So that inspired me as one that's just like, I just want to be in front of the contractors. I want to, get in front of them and present well. And that's my strategy for any of you. Like, literally, my goal is to build out a really good spec book, my strategy, and literally make copies and have it with me. Like yesterday, like Sharon said, like, I went to my first Maryland Building Industry Association event. So I'm meeting people in the building industry, and they're like, oh, literally, I had two people like, our goal will be to get you in front of the custom builders, the contractors, so forth and so on. Because I realized that's what I like doing. I like working with plans, and um, yeah, I like that technical side of design probably more than sourcing fabric for a pillow. And
What was
Sharon
that
and I,
show
we talked
called?
about, huh?
What was that show called that you went to? It's a Maryland Builder. What was it?
It's Maryland Building Industry Association.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's one of my strategies of getting in front of people. And like I said, I'm just starting, but the goal is, and then of course to reach out to contractors, to reach out, but I want to be able to show them, like, this is the quality of work that I can bring to the table. This is my process, because that's what they're going to want to see and hear, so that builds trust that again, bringing you onto the team truly is a value and not a liability ultimately. So I just wanted, like I said, I just want to throw that out there for the classes and show up to that. And I'll try to make sure, like, if you all aren't signed up for our emails, when it comes up, I'll share the link so that
That's
you
what I was
can,
going to suggest.
come ahead of time. So just in case she has that buy one, get one, like I said, I put it in the chat in Facebook when it happened before. But yeah,
That's really good feedback because those are literally the classes that I was trying to take with Luann, and then the cost of it and everything else. I was like, maybe next time. So that's good feedback.
okay, cool. All right, and Mimi, you had your hand raised.
I think Wilson has their
Hello.
hand.
So I have a couple questions in terms of the format that you use. What systems are you guys using to, well, I guess Sharon, I would say, what systems are you using to generate these kitchens? That's question number one. Number two, when you said in your presentation that you get leads, are you getting leads from KBS, K and B, NKBA? Like there's so many acronyms, NAHB. Like who are you getting leads from? So two
No.
questions, your system and then third, I'm sorry. Are you are you personally trained, or did you go to school for interior design?
So I went to school for interior design. I did receive some certification a long time ago through my previous employer through a builder. When I came out of school, I didn't graduate, but when I stopped school, I don't even think the NCIDQ test was out to certify designers. And there was a pathway which currently doesn't exist anymore. And I've been in talks with NKBA to, find a way to have designers who are entering their second career or, who are coming into this, find a way to kind of help them solidify their standing in the industry and create a pathway for education because they used to have a AKBD, AKBD, Associate Kitchen and Bath Designer course that you could take, and it didn't require a degree. You did have to have some schooling, but it didn't require a degree. But they've done away with that. So yes, I have some schooling. Tell me your second question, Mimi. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was also asking, so now I know you went to school, and then what systems do you use in terms of generating the floor plan? I'm not worried about. Elevations, are you including in your package? And I guess this could be, a kind of a la carte thing where you sometimes
Mhm.
include it if it's only requested or if you upcharge for that or whatever. But are
Sure.
you also including within these packages or these kitchen designs that you're doing? Are you including 3D illustrations? Are you just giving them floor plans and elevations?
No.
That was my other question. And then I remember you said in the presentation about leads. Where are you getting leads from? And
Sure.
those are the only two questions I had.
Okay.
What's left?
So as far as what documents or what construction documents we're preparing. So we prepare renderings, we prepare the floor plans. We do have a third party company that we use that does our 2020 drawings for us because with your kitchens and baths, when you order cabinets, a lot of times you have to push that sale through a 2020 program. So we have a third party that we use for that. um, let's see, leads. So basically, what the presentation was discussing is networking opportunities with those different institutions. Not necessarily, I'm not necessarily saying that I'm getting leads from them. I'm just saying that those are avenues that, if you're in the K and B space, that you should be utilizing to receive leads from lenders and investors. Um, what did we say? We said, banks, um, occupational therapists, anyone that works with aging individuals, right? Anyone, if you're going the CAPS route, anyone that works with aging individuals, anyone that lends money to homeowners, right? Because a lot of times before people take on renovations, they don't call us first, they secure the funds, right?
Mhm.
So they'll start to talk with their bank about securing those funds. So those are, great connections to make in this space.
Okay. I got the rendering part, the 2020, definitely. The cabinet people typically do that for me. I've done some kitchens before and
Hmm.
some bathrooms. I think for me, I guess I like the idea of getting certifications behind my name, but oftentimes in this crazy world that we live in, I just want to make sure, I don't know if you guys see me on IG, but I talk about ROIs. I want to make sure that
Hmm.
whatever the return is on of money on my investment, the return on investment is wise. Last question.
Absolutely.
What would be the top three certifications you would go for right now? And then I'm
So,
done.
but because because the way that the K&B space is trending, but the way that it's moving, the way that the market is shifting, caps for me is at the top, right? Because that puts you in the room with healthcare professionals. Because for me, it's about, kind of diversifying your design skills and making it so that it's recession proof. That's kind of what CAPS does because people are going to get sick, right? People are going to age and they have to have somewhere to live and they have to live safely and comfortably. So no matter what the economy is doing, no matter what the industry is doing, people have to live safely in their homes. So that's at the top of certifications for me. Um, I would say if you're gonna, work in the K&B space, NKBA, even though I hate that they did away with that, that narrower pathway for certification. So now they require you to have a 4-year degree. You more or less have to have a 4-year degree to get that certification. And like I said, I'm talking with them. I met with them at market and I was like, excuse me. Why did you guys get rid of that pathway? Um,
Yeah, I have a degree in architecture, so I'm hoping they'll let me port some of those classes
oh, well, you'll be
over.
fine.
So, well, that's a whole nother story. I have a degree in architecture. Let's just leave it there. I'm not a licensed architect. So you're
No,
saying
you don't need
caps?
to be. You don't
Right.
need to
Yeah.
be. They have a certification pathway if you have
Perfect.
a degree in architecture. Absolutely.
Okay, so caps, NKBA, and then what was the third one?
I didn't mention a third one.
Okay.
So a third certification, um, if you're into sustainable design, which is, always on the trend, lead AP, um, I was a member quite some years ago, but I just don't see the ROI on that for myself.
I took some lead
But yeah,
classes, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. So really
yeah.
the top two are NKBA.
To
Those are the main
to
two that I need to
me,
focus on, is what you're saying.
to me, based on where the
Okay.
industry is and how things are trending, um, those would be the two that I recommend. I mean,
Awesome.
the cost for the certification is low enough that, if you saw a single project out of it, you would have benefited.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I want to chime in real quick with that too. I got certified as well recently, just within the last month and a half, CAPS as well through Sharon's recommendation. And another thing that was eye-opening to me was that it's also just not for people who are aging in place, like it carries that name, but there are a lot of there are many other situations where that training comes into place, or the modifications that you would use, let's say for someone in the 55 plus community, that would apply. So example, people get injured, badly injured, and
Mhm.
then now they need modifications. They can't navigate the stairs anymore in their home. And sometimes it's a temporary fix, others it's a more permanent fix. People get sick, and again, because of health reasons, it could be a young person, but they need
Mhm.
modifications just like an older individual. So that was actually pretty eye-opening for me. So like Sharon is saying, you are now partnering with healthcare professionals, or at least getting your name out there that, hey, this is someone who designs but also has the knowledge and skill set that can help create designs to meet the specific needs for a patient in their home. So yeah, so that I just want to put that plug in there too. All right, Filson.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sharon. This was really an amazing presentation. And I actually have been speaking with a lot of my colleagues and mentors about doing more kitchen and bath. And so I've kind of always done like e-design versions, just sharing, finishes with clients or consulting on them. But now I'm starting to see like more of the traffic and more involvement that clients want from me. So what I've been trying to get an answer on is, how does procurement work in the kitchen and bath space? If that's even feasible, or how that works with GCs. Just trying to wrap my head around it. Luckily, I
Sure.
just got a bigger project, but it's more of an e-design. So we both decided that I wouldn't do project management or procurement for them, but I am going to sell cabinetry through a trade only manufacturer that will be able to sell to them and then give me a cut on the back end.
Okay, okay. So it depends on your GC. Some GCs won't, they won't give up procurement, right? If they GC the project, they would want to take all the product through their company. I don't work with GCs that work that way. I always, procure my own cabinetry, plumbing fixtures. So for me, anything on the outside of the wall, I'm procuring. Anything behind the wall, my GC's procuring. So all my valves, um, you know, any type of construction material, they procure. If it's on the outside, if it's decorative, if you can hang it on the on the wall, then it's running through my company. You do need to have a plan though. You need to have a storage plan when you're procuring cabinetry, because a lot of times the space is it's under construction, it's being renovated. So those cabinets have to go somewhere safe and secure. Not unless you want to be in the business of eating the cost for damaged cabinetry. So you have to have a plan for storage. And I would say the first couple of times, though, to be honest with you, I'd run it through someone else. I'd run procurement through someone else, just so you can, um, you know, just so you can get an idea for what that picture, kind of looks like, because it can be a lot. It can be a lot. Um, yeah, it it can be a lot. But does that answer your question?
Oh, yes, it does. And so that's the kind of the temperature check I was getting from other designers. Like some were very like firm on like, do not buy anything for clients when it comes to kitchen and bath, and then some others were just saying the same thing about storage and just making sure. But a question I had, a follow up, was margins with that, because sometimes designers also give the feedback of the margins are not even worth procuring
Yeah,
that. And so what does that
yeah.
look like?
So the margins aren't great on appliances, right? But okay, so I do, probably mid-range to higher end kitchens and baths. And so a lot of times I'm dealing with higher end um, appliance manufacturers. And so there is a little bit more of a kickback when you're talking about Wolf. Not much, not much, but your lower end guys don't give anything. So you're not going to see anything on the appliance, and on plumbing fixtures, it's narrow. Um, on countertops, if you have a good relationship, the key is, you really need to establish relationships with different dealers and different fabricators and different manufacturers. I try to work with the same few people every time, right? So I get a pretty good margin on my stone. If I switched it up, that wouldn't be the case. Um, let's see, where else? Definitely the margin can be phenomenal on cabinetry. Um, but that's a significant learning curve, a significant learning curve there.
Helpful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And one thing again, I'll chime in from my course. My two instructors spoke about when they're the designer on these bigger projects that involve even kitchens and baths. They mostly stick to lighting and mirrors. It was like, so like think of it like a new build, and they're designing for a new build. They'll try to procure lighting, mirrors, to Sharon's point. And they said there are a lot of liability um, issues that can come from sourcing those things that you're not actually installing. So for them, it's like, oh, if I couldn't install it myself, or
Yeah.
uh, then I'm not really touching it. And to her point, but there were some in the class that said, like, we do sell cabinets, like we are, like, the retailer for the cabinet. And I do value what you said, Sharon, as far as, if this is a space that, one, our processes, we're still trying to figure that out. Number one, like start to finish, where do I fit into this puzzle? Um, then let me focus on that first. You do everything else, because along the way, that will be a learning opportunity, just being a part of that type of project. And then the more we learn, there's like, okay, I got that. I have the process. I've built their trust. I've stayed in my lane for the most part. And they talked about that too. That my lane as the designer, I'm designing. I'm not trying to build, uh, and then as you become more proficient and established, then taking on maybe some of those other opportunities to source, and make a profit.
I will say this though, when it comes to procurement, just like the rest of the home, like if you're procuring a sofa or a rug, you have to be able to speak to the wearability, you've got to be able to speak to the quality, and it's no different in the K&B space. If you're specing plumbing fixtures, you better know something about plumbing fixtures. You better know that, you want to have a ceramic cartridge, in that plumbing fixture. So knowing your product is really where you want to start in the K&B space. You want to know what you're recommending and what you're selling to people. Have some tried and true brands. My suggestion would be to go, with the bigger names when it comes to plumbing. Go with Kohler. Go with Kohler for at starting out, right? Um, and the same with cabinetry. You really have to know the differences in the box construction, and so Vanny, going back to your question, that's another area that I would really recommend that you start if the K&B space is something you want to do more work in. You really got to know your cabinetry lines. You got to know what you're selling on the cabinetry front, because it can make or break a kitchen, right? Not specing the right cabinet. And I feel like a lot of times people go after certain options because of the aesthetic, purely the aesthetic. They find a door style and they say, oh, this is door style the client wants, and so this direction that we're going to go in. Well, what's the box constructed of? How is the box made? And, even going as far as to doing a factory tour for the cabinet manufacturer to see how their boxes are put together and how they're constructed, because you can't speak to that if you don't know it. If you're selling a client it's $65,000 worth of cabinetry, and they ask you, well, what's the difference between this and a $35,000 cabinet? You have to be able to speak to those differences. So I would say, Vanny, going back to your question, find a cabinet manufacturer that fits the price point for your typical client, you know, and try and do a tour of their factory, try and do a product knowledge session. I remember, back in the day we used to schedule PKs all the time with vendors, So try to do a PK course with a cabinet line, and you will walk away. If it's a good cabinet line, you'll walk away with, having learned a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. Star, you're up.
Absolutely. Stars, your hand raised.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Hey, I'm in a car. I had to come pick my daughter up, but wow, great information here. I myself do kitchen and bathrooms. I actually have background. I did go to college for interior design, and I actually got to go to a space where I did kitchen and bathrooms for Lowe's. And when I say I was green, I was green. I didn't know nothing about nothing. So I quite a bit working there, and especially working in the actual kitchen cabinet department. And I learned 2020. But the biggest learning came from actually being on site to see the process. So going to weekly
Yes.
visits and actually seeing what's happening behind the walls, and knowing properly what measurements to get before the kitchen is demoed, and those types of things. Knowing what has to stay, what has to go. But the thing that's blowing my mind right now is I didn't know there was like this certification for the caps, which is really huge because I actually live in Florida. So, there's a lot of retirees here. And one of the things that I'm noticing is definitely people are staying where they are. So
Yep.
my question is, how long and how much does that take to get that certification? And then more so with the questions on the cabinets, because when I do kitchens and bathrooms, I provide everything. And I myself have created like this little ecosystem of, tradespeople and, um, uh, people, fabricators to go through, and I
Mm-hmm.
use them every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Even I have my preferred, kitchen people to install. Like it's just something about people knowing what to do, when to do, and how to do it. You know what I mean? And then being able to call them when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
I'm okay with something going wrong as long as you can come in here and fix it. Like we could do that all day.
Yeah.
Um, so my second question is, are you providing your own cabinet lines, directly through your company, or are you like the middleman? Because that's something that I've been kind of toying with, is actually providing it for myself. But I feel
Yeah.
like I need to, the whole process of ordering the cabinets, and I did find somebody to do 2020, a third party to do 2020 drawings for me. But the whole process of ordering the cabinets, and then once it gets on site for delivery, checking all the cabinets to make sure they're ready for install. And, it's a whole process. And I feel like I
It
need
is.
someone for that specifically. I don't want to be in charge of that. So
Yeah.
I was wondering how you handle that.
So who's a great resource for this, Duval? Um,
Okay. Okay. I
he is
actually
a
ordered my cabinets from Duval, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he is a great resource to use. But to answer your question, I am not private labeling at the moment. No,
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
going to in the very near future. I'm going to, but logistically, it is a lot to contend with. It is. And
Yeah.
I didn't feel comfortable until recently, taking that on because, you have to manage all that goes wrong. You have
Yes.
to, if cabinets come in damaged, you have to eat the cost to replace them. And so you have to build in a good amount of cushion, in your sales for that. But no, at the moment, I'm not private labeling. And it took a minute for me to find a company that didn't have a minimum order, because a lot of them have MOQs that you have to meet. Um, so yes, in the near future, and I'll share that information with you. I can, email it or send it over to Destiny to distribute out. But I do think that that is a great way that, designers in the KMB space
Oh,
can
wow.
increase
They
revenue.
closed. Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm talking to my daughter.
Oh, okay.
No, I heard what you were saying though. That's yeah. Definitely please share that information. I do have another question about, do you actually have you ever used a custom cabinet builder where they actually build from scratch? Um,
Absolutely. All the time. Yep. All the
okay.
time. And they'll private label for you as well if you
Mm-hmm.
find a
Mm-hmm.
custom cabinet maker. So I would say the last 10 years, more than 50% of my projects were fully custom kitchens, fully custom cabinets. And I love it because, you get to control the margin,
Yeah.
um, but it's so custom for me where I'm at is Julio and them.
Gotcha.
I hate to say that, but that's what custom was for me for the last 10 years. It was Julio and Jose, and
I was just
they
about to say Jose.
they made furniture for a local furniture company and was out of work, and all of a sudden they worked for Studio One Design, banging out custom everything for a good amount of
Yeah.
time. But that well has run its course, and so now it's time to find a custom cabinet manufacturer. And there's a lot of them out there, but you're going to pay, unless you have a Julio and Jose in your back pocket. The client has to have the budget for it if it's, fully custom.
Um, so that's my problem here. I mean, I've had this conversation with Vanny, is all of my people down here when it comes to cabinet making, period, it is so expensive. it's
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
before you're talking about $150,000, for like a, regular size kitchen,
Yeah.
starting off 75, you know what I mean?
I,
Before
I
you
can't
yeah,
talk
get
about custom in Boston at all. Like,
yeah,
it's insane.
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Wow.
I would love to find, because of course I want to do custom, but I've been going a semi-custom route, here lately, and sometimes it's frustrating when you can't do what you want to do because it's semi-custom, and so you got to go through different lines and test out. Can you
Yeah,
get this stitching done through here? And then the cost goes up by 100%. So it's
yep,
kind of
yep,
it's been trying, but
yeah.
yeah, any information on that I would love.
Okay, okay. What semi-custom lines are you using?
So that's like going through, so I haven't done a Fabuwood kitchen yet, but like I've
Mhm.
used what's the other F one? Forever Mar.
Mhm.
I've done there's another one that starts with, oh gosh, why am I not, I'm drawing a blank. There's another one that starts with F and I can't think of the name.
Okay.
I've done
Fieldstone?
Legacy. Who?
Fieldstone?
No, gosh, they have a really great line in a sense. If I go on my Pinterest, I can find it. But
Okay.
um, maybe it is Fabby Wood. Maybe it's Fabby Wood what I'm thinking about. I think it's Fabby Wood.
Okay.
So I have used them in Legacy, and then more custom has been. Girl, I'm drawing a blank. I gotta go through my Pinterest to even think of these names. But
That's
it's two
okay.
more companies that's more expensive. Like
Mhm.
the higher end, it gets up there. But
So
they can do anything.
a hack for trying to do custom through a semi-custom manufacturer would be using a company that does both, right?
Mm,
So using a company that has a semi-custom line as well as a custom line, you can push the bulk of your, your purchase through the semi-custom division and then push the areas that you need fully customizable through the custom side. And I can share with you manufacturers that I use. There's two that, do semi-custom and custom.
Because I was gonna ask, because that's gold right there.
Yeah, yeah. That's the hack right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, that was pretty much it. I mean, this is great. I love this.
Yep. I'll share it with you. I'll email it to you.
Okay.
Because of
Perfect. Thank
course my
you.
brain not gonna let me tell you right now, right on the spot.
Right. I gotta be looking
That's
at
how the
it.
brain works. It's like the brain sees people and it's like, turn off, turn off. We're not gonna work
Mhm.
right now.
Oh, I will say, to the margin point, I do use Ferguson, because even though there's some fixtures that like, I too do the same thing. Like anything that you see from the naked eye, I provide anything behind the walls the contractor provides. But
Hmm.
sometimes when you are buying the higher end, like plumbing, if I go through Ferguson, I'll tell her what I want, my rep, and she'll put the package together when it comes
Hmm.
to the appliances, the plumbing, and it has everything in there, the valve, the this, the
Yep.
that,
Yep.
and
Same. Hmm.
like that collaboration right there has been time saving and frustrations. I can't talk. Frustration saving for me.
Yes. The Ferguson does a really good job at the whole customer experience. When you come in as a trade professional with them, they really you're in good hands. They really do provide like a one-stop shop for you. So yeah, it's a great place to source.
Awesome. 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 So, and I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm sitting here like this camera is following me on this Zoom call, and I'm like, what is going on? I didn't, what feature did I turn on to turn off? I'm over here trying to figure it out. Y'all might have seen me over here playing with some filters. so, so forgive me. But anywho, no, this has been super, super informative. And as I said, you can hear from everything Sharon is saying that she truly is experienced in this type of design work. And yeah, I and what I and my one of my takeaways from the presentation in the very beginning, it said the scope is the fee. The scope is the fee, not your time. Well, at least that's what I wrote in my notes. It's your expertise and having pricing confidence. So even when, pricing out our services and thinking about, and the question said, does your fee reflect the complexity of what you manage? And I think that for us, trying to market ourselves more um, in this space, whether it's kitchen, bath, remodels, new builds, is really, again, thinking about that process and what all are you going to be responsible for? Like, how often are you going to have to show up and what you bring to the table? So, like you're saying, it is, to me, it's always a balance between expertise and time. I bring my
Yeah.
expertise when I show up, but when I show up, you're also taking my time. So we need to make sure that we're being compensated for both.
Mhm.
And so yeah, so I those were some of my like key takeaways, and like you were saying, like vetting and pre-qualifying those general contractors, because we can all, I'm pretty sure many have had stories, whether personally or professionally, you get the wrong contractor and it could be a total nightmare. I remember we were renovating our kitchen at our former home. This is even before I became a designer, and had a contractor literally and like just like, oh well, this is not what we signed up for. And I was like, what do you mean you didn't sign up for this? And so we then had to go scrambling to find someone to put together some cabinetry. And I'll be, completely transparent. Like at that time, it was IKEA. We went IKEA, sourced our cabinets from
Oh
IKEA.
Lord. Yep, that probably took 15,000 years, Destiny. Because those They come
Yeah.
individually flat pack, right?
And that's exactly
Oh,
what happened. When they came and made that delivery, those contractors was like, they saw the 1,001 boxes and
yeah.
were like, we didn't sign
That
up for this.
IKEA stuff is not good. That
But I'm
IKEA
saying here,
stuff.
like, we were just, I
Mm-mm.
was pointing and showing you these cabinets. We were just talking about, you knew we were getting IKEA. What do you think we were gonna, but I say all that to say, once again, even hindsight being 2020, had I been a designer, like that would have clearly been disclosed up front. Like we're specing cabinets and we are specing them from IKEA, and they will need to be put together if we haven't
Mhm.
paid for that service separately. You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you're front loading as much information as possible. And I also remember in the class they were saying like that also helps even when the contractor, and it all sort of depends on when you're brought in, but let's say you are brought in first, like to really get a very concrete quote on their labor and what it's going to take to install when they have the specifics of what actually are they doing.
Yeah.
um and I say that even for just a furnishing project, like I've learned, even if it does entail some, whether it's lighting or something that's going to involve a third party contractor, it is better for me to show up with as much detail, like a completed design package first before getting it quoted, because a
Mhm.
herringbone tile pattern is different than if you just putting up a mosaic. It's
Yeah.
a different, same square footage of space, but it's a different labor cost. Or
Mhm.
versus if you're putting down hard, like genuine hardwood versus some floating, um you know floating laminate, floating,
Yeah.
engineered wood, whatever.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
each is very important, and you don't want them coming back, oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I didn't know this is what I was actually doing. So that's one of the things I've learned um, along the way. Well, guess what? We are 5 minutes till five, and we shut down on time now. So,
Okay. I think Cheryl has her hand raised.
oh,
There
okay,
she
come on,
has.
Cheryl, hop on in.
Well, thank you,
Okay.
Sharon,
Okay.
for the presentation, AI through
Absolutely.
the information that you brought forth. Um, I am a designer. I went to school for it. Um, this kitchen and bath, though, it is an industry that I never considered
Mhm.
really moving into. But I've appreciated all of the knowledge that you brought and the comments and information that the other designers have brought forth too. Um, and as we are pricing everything, doesn't the contractor, all of that has to be priced in too to present to the client, correct?
So more than one way to skin a cat, right? For me in my business, I don't take my contracting budget through my business. I used to when I didn't know any better, right?
All right.
But yeah, that the labor cost and the construction cost does have to be factored in, but that's a contract separate from my design contract.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So the GC, the general contractor will give his bid or his number for labor only, and then I give my fee for design. Yeah, so the two are not mingled in together. And I used to do it where it was, just kind of lumped in to one because wanted to. I think what I wanted to do early on in my business is present myself as a design build firm because I felt like it solidified my standing a bit more. I think subconsciously, I thought, I've got to package myself
Mhm.
and I've got to make myself, look like I'm controlling more than what I'm controlling and I'm bringing to the table the labor. But I learned the hard way with that. And so, the GC contracts separately with the client. Now it is hinged on my number a lot of times, right? So whatever that budget is with the GC, yeah, I know that number and I have to sometimes, factor it for my own number, but the two are not here. And as far as presenting one number to the client, no.
Okay, so when you go to the client at the very beginning, you have a broader range of this is what it's going to cost to design this kitchen, to, remodel the kitchen. And that can be a very general price for the labor because they're not going to say, oh, based on the presentation provided, don't tell what that you're charging. Change the language. Don't tell you're charging by the hour. Don't say these are your fees, but this is the cost of the project that I'm managing.
Sure, sure. I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Sure. So like I said, it's more than one way to skin a cat. Some firms do, that number is one big number that they present to their client. It's all encompassing, right? It's the contractor fee, it's the design fee, it's all encompassing. And, if you find that that way works for you, you can do it that way. So what happens is when I take on a kitchen and bath project, obviously I know how much I need to make for that project to make sense for me. And knowing sorry, knowing what the client's goals are, I within a short amount of time know what that number is going to look like from a general contractor having done it enough times, right? Now, if you haven't done it enough times, then you wouldn't know that. So you would have to have a conversation with your trusted, tried and true GC or their GC, you know, as early as possible. Um, but for me, my process, more or less, I know my number. Before I say yes, I know what my number needs to minimally be for this to make sense for me. Am I answering your question?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Anybody else do it different than that? I mean, like I said, I used to present a single number and woo, yeah, I learned the hard way not to do that because I feel like what happens when you package your services as a designer with your GC's services, when you present as one collective, then no matter how many times you tell that client, I am not the GC on this project. I'm not providing labor on this project. I don't provide labor for any scope of work. You are still telling that client if you, presented this as one number, you are still telling that client that I'm the GC on this project, that I am providing labor for this scope of work. Every time I did it that way for the first 5 years. And then it also, it gives the illusion that you're earning more than what you're earning, right? So if I have a $150,000 project and I'm walking away, earning 30, then it looks like I earn 150, thousand dollars on paper. And it just got too dicey for me. It got too dicey. Now the lines are very clear and defined. My contract doesn't look anything. My contract, when I tell you that labor is nowhere in my contract, it's not a touching point. It's not, there is no mention of it. And I continuously iterate that Studio One Design does not provide labor for any scope of work. I don't care if it's your dog's playpen. Like I don't care what it is. We are not in the business of providing labor, you know.
I'm sorry, Sharon, I just had a question. Do you have a GC contract? You have
Say
a
that
GC
again.
do you have a GC license?
I do not, but I will
Okay.
soon. I will soon. I'm studying for my GC license. I will soon.
Okay.
You will
Yeah,
have
I
it.
Oh
was
my
trying to
gosh.
understand
Where
that
do
too,
you stay?
Denise. I was just,
But
Oh,
go ahead, Star. I had a quick question about liability when you're providing, even if you're providing the cabinets, but somebody else is installing, let's say, God forbid, a cabinet, sorry, Star, a cabinet falls off the
who
wall, who's
installed it?
liable?
You.
Interesting.
So follow, I was going to jump in when
Yeah.
Even
Sharon
if
was
it was a
talking
failure
about,
of the actual cabinet?
yeah, because like what I learned in my class, follow the money. Whoever, like if they
Whoever
gave
got
you
paid
the
for it.
money, whoever you,
Whoever
if
got
you
paid
got
for it.
paid for that
Got you. I
cabinet,
got you.
whether you
I got
installed
you.
it or not.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, so
I
that's
got
one of
it.
the reasons why too, I'm saying like for me, and that was eye opening. I don't want to be liable for any of that. And I think so it's like if we're coming to the table as the designer, our lane is I design. That's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And to Sharon's point, because even with furnishing projects, like in the beginning, I didn't fully know when we said full service that didn't include like installation. Like, oh, so I'm over there hanging, and when I first got started, hanging
Mhm.
artwork or paying someone to hang it out of my
Mhm.
what I charged you for my design, not knowing those were separate fees. And
Yeah.
so now, and so kind of going back to what I understand and what I've sort of done now, even with, projects that dealt with some type of contracting work is, like Sharon is saying, well, one is a couple ways this your relationship can start out. The client can come to you first,
Mhm.
and from there, then it's important to what I understand is like, yeah, here's my design fee. Just like off the bat, because you're coming to me and I'm a designer. What are some of the unknowns are the full labor costs. We don't know that right now because number one, we don't even have a design yet. But I would assume, Sharon, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like having ballpark figures. I've even seen, even with the design firm that's local, kind of like a entry, medium, high, like at
Yeah.
the minimum per square feet, whether it's 300, 400, $500 a square foot, then you could throw that number as a ballpark. You plan to spend X amount of dollars, and the more, like she's saying, the more projects you complete, you'll become more aware of what those numbers actually are, or even just talking, like networking and talking to general contractors, getting a feel for it. So like, but making it very clear that we don't absolutely know those costs. But if like say you give me a number, let's just say they come in $100,000, they want it all in. It is our job based on what we know, as far as I understand, to be able to say, is that doable or not? Like,
Yeah.
can I do that within what you just told me? So if you come at 15,000 and you want to redo a whole kitchen, like I'm then at that point, I have to tell you that's not even
Yeah.
possible.
And a
And then
good GC will give you a square foot, price point. A good GC, obviously only work with a licensed GC.
right,
They should be able to give you a gauge to help you, price out things early on, before you fully get them involved. And then
yeah.
having done it, a time or two, then you have something to make a comparison to.
Yeah, and I would say also with that, one of the things I do with my clients, like especially if it's like right now, I have my 18 contractors and trades. But if say it's a project and I don't have like I had a client come, matter of fact, Sharon went with me to that project that to do with kitchen design. And what I did, I invited 3 contractors to come to the table because again the client ultimately is going to hire them, like they're going to switch money, they're going through them, but it's like, hey, you come and I'll walk through this design with you. I have my designs, this is what they're wanting to do, so I'll provide that service for them, and then here, this is what they all 3 bid for this project, apples to apples, because it's one design. And if they're reputable companies in the area, then the client is the one that ultimately makes the decision. And you could step away from that altogether and just say, here's the design. Now you go find your contractor. When you find your contractor, let me know, I'll continue working with them. And that takes you completely out of the situation where it's still a finger point. And if anything goes wrong, like you recommended this person, kind of like to me, not saying not to, like if you have a good relationship with a um, quality contractor, I'm not saying don't bring them to the table. So that's like the one way. And then I also know, like, if they go to the contractor first, then they may come to you and tell you, like, hey, this is how much for materials, and these, this is how much you can spend on cabinetry. This is the allotment for blah 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 blah. And then our role is just pretty much stay within budget when we're designing, pretty much at that point. So that's all I have. Anything else? I'm going to the
So
okay.
I'm trying to respond in the chat. If I missed a question, I can, let's see, let me take a screenshot because I feel like I missed a few.
I more so had a question just because in Florida, I mean, they just make it so hard for interior designers to do even, we can't even use the word term project management. We have to say oversight.
Yeah, you guys
We can get
have
in a lot of
strict.
trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would love to be able to at least just have a project management license, but basically you have to have a contractor's license in order to be a project manager.
Get your contractor's license.
Ugh,
Sorry.
it's so much.
I know.
You have to, well, you have to have, I mean, you got to lay concrete. It's all kind of stuff you have to do in order to obtain it.
Well, perhaps in Florida, here for me, it's a book test,
No.
right? It's a
Well, okay, so yes, it is a book test, but so there is two part. You're right. I can at least get a license, but to actually do work, I have to do certain things.
so you have to be connected to. Well, let's talk outside of here, but you really need to be connected with a good GC. Because if you need hours, obviously you can pull if you're using the same GC on your projects, you can pull from those hours that you've spent on your projects with that GC. But yeah, and that you don't have to be, you can hold the license without actually, you know, performing any of the labor. I mean, obviously, you're going to hire trades to perform all the labor. And so you hold the license, take the book test, you hold the liability, obviously, but you need to be, the first couple of years, you really need to be connected with a really good general contractor.
Yeah.
Until really get the lay of the land and, figure out the do's and the don'ts, and there's quite a few of them. So we can chat.
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Well, Sharon, thank you, friend, once again. I think I
Absolutely.
speak for
Thank
Thank you
you,
everyone
guys.
in
Sharon. That
saying
was awesome.
this was really,
Oh,
really
I appreciate that.
good.
I'm
Thank
selling
you.
some cabinets now.
Yes,
That's
please,
cool.
please.
So yeah, and
Absolutely.
if there's anything that I feel like I have a lineup of guests all the way up until about next market, I want to say August, September. But if there's something in
Probably
specific,
December.
no, not yet. Sharon's coming back in December.
I had a quick,
If
quick
number one,
comment to make. If there's a way we could start sharing resources some way, somehow, maybe on a like Canva or document. I don't, sorry.
I think there's overlap.
Okay.
I heard her question.
Mm-hmm. Sharing
Like a,
documents,
yeah, like
maybe like
share
a
like a shared
Google.
resource or like Canva or Google Doc where we
Mm-hmm.
could start sharing and like even like rating products like this is my go-to this is my go-to that, just so that for people learning or just learning from each other, we can have some type of shared content or document.
Mm-hmm.
We
That's a good
have
idea.
the Facebook page.
Yeah, I was going to say that you can share documents on Facebook, on the Facebook group.
Oh, I just
yeah,
hate
I think
Facebook.
I see
Yeah,
that,
it's
but I
just
can
me.
also see the value in potentially. I'm just trying to see how would you manage that, like a drive and where it saves organized kitchen resources, bath, something that you could just drop things,
Yeah.
documents in and go to is like, oh, okay, go to the, here.
I think
So
Canva might be the better option just because you can hyperlink things and you can also just add a lot of people to a live view or edit, like we can give everybody editing credentials and so people can constantly be adding to it and it's just a link. Like it's something that you can share to people via a link. Um,
Yeah, I'm
and
not
I
a
think
camper.
Google Doc
But
also works as similarly as well.
well,
Yeah,
you
I
know
think that's
what,
what I was gonna
Pilson? I
say.
think if you can
I mean,
make
I can
that
help with
happen,
that. I for
yeah,
sure can
I'm just
yeah, help.
saying, yeah, put that on your to-do list and you will figure that out. Let us know
Yeah,
how we
get if
can
you do you have the
facilitate.
email list for everybody in this group? I'm happy to start doing that.
I think the first thing we would want to do is first put it out there who would want to be added to that. That would be number one. I wouldn't,
No, I know. I don't want to
you know
add
what I'm
anyone.
saying?
I want to get a
Yeah.
gauge from
Yeah,
everyone.
for it. And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, that's because what I was thinking, I was like, even if we made it and if there's a shareable link, then you just put the shareable link in the Facebook group. And then that's why I was
right.
saying like the drive would be the easiest way because you can create the drive, click a shareable link, and then if someone wants to go to it, they just use the link to go to it. And
But
that,
but
I think
you
that's
have
a
to see
better
a
idea
difference.
because if you do have Google Drive or Canva, you're gonna need to constantly be adding people or removing people, which might
yep,
be
yep,
Right.
problematic in the long run.
yep,
And
have
you
to.
have to have the subscription to Canva in order to access the documents on Canva, I think.
Oh, that's true.
No,
Everybody.
you can make it public. You can make it
Okay.
Yeah.
public. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I
I
think
can
for
I'll just do a comparison of pros and cons of how to do something like this and then y'all can vote in Facebook and we'll just go
okay,
from there.
cool. That works. Sounds good to me. But
All
anyway,
right.
ladies, we went over just a little bit, but thank you so much. All of you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, we'll
Yes,
see
thank
you
you
next week.
guys.
Not next week, next month. And I think is it Morgan? From Business by the Book, and we'll be talking about finances and accounting and bookkeeping. And I will just say I've been working with them for the last couple of months, and it has really, really helped. Yeah, just it has elevated my understanding of even processes within like my business and how things should be. So, yep. See you all next month.
Thank you
Thank
guys. Thank
Bye.
you.
you, Destiny.
Great
Take care.
job.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Great job.